Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 122. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching. And as always, I want to thank you and acknowledge that you're sharing your time with me. Time is our greatest asset. And the fact that you're willing to invest and spend your time with me truly does mean a great deal. And thank you for being here. So it's about the end of the year, team. Hopefully when you're listening to this podcast, you're either spending great time with your family, friends, or some really solid time in reflection and peace as we end 2025 and look into our future for 2026. I want to have a conversation with you that we're at risk of being the same person in 26 as we were in 25, even if we have different goals or aspirations for ourselves. I want to talk about the importance of really getting nitty gritty about who and what you need to become in order to see your goals, your resolutions, your new vision come to life. Not saying you got to completely change who you are as a human being. I do believe, though, if we have different goals, different vision, different resolutions, we absolutely must really reflect on who and what and how we're going to show up for the new year. Otherwise, by, February 15th, we'll just be back to doing things we've always done and hoping for a different outcome, yet really setting ourselves up for ultimate failure and a repeat. Not that your previous year was bad. Yet if we're looking to do something different, different goal, different vision, different resolution, we have to show up a little bit differently. So I want to talk about this. Resolutions are all abuzz right now. Everybody's talking about different resolutions they want to set. I look at our business plan as it could be at risk for being a resolution if we don't get serious about how to implement and to make those things happen. Resolutions really can just be wishes disguised as goals. Same thing with our business plan. It could just be a big wish disguised as a goal if we do not do something to focus and implement. A lot of times we're just focused on what we want, right? That's the fun part about a resolution. That's the fun part about new business goals is we focus on what we want and all the things that it can give to us. It feels so good to be in that space. Yet we fail to really, really dissect and to own what we must change structurally in our thinking, in our environment, in our routines, in our activities to allow those things to come to life. Sheer willpower is not a strategy for moving forward into the new year. Yes, it's important to have willpower. However, willpower, like motivation, can be waning. It's really more about discipline and systems and structure that are going to help you implement your new goals, your new resolutions as we move into the new year. If your life stays the same, your results will too. Let's be honest. If we do the same thing we did last year, do you think we're going to get more or the same or even less? It's really important to acknowledge that if your life stays the same, your behaviors, your activities, your thoughts, your strategies, no matter how inspired you are about what that year end could look like, you're going to end up in the same place, same results, same position as you are in the previous year. And you're at risk for actually sliding backward. Number two thing to consider at this time of year, which is really important, is your brain is really designed to protect the familiar, not the ideal. All right. So this is where we are at risk of sliding back into old behaviors, old habits, old patterns, because 92% of what we do is conditioned habitual behavior. I want you to hear that again. 92% of what we do is conditioned habitual behavior. Two things to note. I didn't say healthy. I didn't say functional. I just said conditioned habitual behavior. The other part of this 92%, it tends to show up in times of stress, times of confusion, times of chaos. We default to what we know because it calms the brain and it makes the brain feel better. The brain values efficiency and certainty over growth. That's why we fall back into old habits, because the brain is like, hey, let's go somewhere comfortable. Let's go somewhere that I have absolute certainty that I know we've done this before and we're going to be okay. You're going to survive. We're not going to get harmed in any way. We're not going to fail. So it's really important that you acknowledge that. A new goal to your brain feels unsafe, not because it's wrong, but because they're not familiar. Resistance to doing things isn't a flaw. It's just feedback for you. It's your brain trying to pull you back into the familiar because that's what it likes, efficiency and certainty. The moment you feel resistance is your brain signaling that it wants to make you feel safe. So I don't want to say you're battling, but you're faced with your brain. You're faced with the power of it because all of our thoughts come from within our brain. It's really designed this way. So I'm just wanting to bring this to your attention. If you find yourself falling into the conditioned habitual results, it's not unnormal or unusual or a problem. It's just the brain's little odd way of thinking it's protecting you when it's actually harming you from getting to a different goal and allowing you to live in the discomfort and the unfamiliar, which will actually move you forward. Number 3 thing to keep in mind as we move into a new year, identity always overrides intention. People typically don't fail because they lack discipline. They fail because their goals are in conflict with their current identity. Behavior always follows those who believe who we are. This is really important. If you've set a goal that is so outside of your comfort circle, that is making you feel that imposter syndrome, or like, oh, yeah, that's a great goal, but I'm not that person. I think I've shared this before. When I wanted to break the cycle of financial limitations that I experienced as a kid, not that my parents weren't successful, but I wanted a different world, a different life. And I can remember asking my parents, why aren't we this? And their response was, we're just not those people. And so I carried that story with me for a long time. But when I decided to be those people, I felt like an imposter. I felt like there was this huge gap between where I was and where I wanted to be. And while I could state it and I could make the plans to do it, it was the gap area that got me into trouble between where I was and where I wanted to be, because I hadn't embraced the identity of what that person would look like. Remember, they said, we're not those people. I didn't really create an identity for those people, but I had to create an identity for me as one of those people. Who was I? And as soon as I allowed myself to create that identity, the path was opened. There was a bridge over the gap to get me to that place, but I had to embrace my new identity, or I showed up really as a fake, as an imposter. I showed up as, it's kind of a joke. He thinks he's going to do this. He thinks he's going to get here, but he's not that person, so he can't. It's really important that we realize that our identity will override our intention every single time. You got to get your identity in alignment with your intention, and then you can have the breakthrough. It's really important, right? We don't always rise to our goals unless our identity and our self-concept is in alignment with our intentions. You got to make the connection and put yourself in the place of being whatever it is that you see yourself being. What is that identity that you want to be? One of the exercises that I will say is really important to do is if you struggle with this, and a lot of people struggle with it, a lot of people have a challenge changing their identity or embracing a new identity, because again, it's making the brain uncomfortable. The brain doesn't like that. The way you can trick the brain, or a brain hack in this situation, is to fast forward 12 months from now and write out your identity as if it already happened. Not, this year I was going to become this person and I was going to do this and I plan on this and it's going to be great. No, write it as if it's already happened. 2026 was an amazing year. I'm sitting here in my new office space because my team has grown and doubled. I've increased my income 100%, whatever it is. Live into that new identity as if it's already happened and you're already that person. Be in it as if it's happened. Then now your brain is like, oh, it already happened? Okay, I'm comfortable with that because I know nothing harmful happened. I'm really good. I got there. Okay, we're intact. Nothing bad has happened to me. Trick the brain to believe the identity has already happened. And then your brain's going to go to work to help you get there. That's the number one brain hack on addressing your identity. Number 4 thing is know that discipline is a skill, not a personality trait. Some people are like, yeah, I'm just not that person, right? Well, that's a personality. I'm not funny. I'm not smart. I'm not whatever. That's a personality trait. Discipline is a skill. Anybody can have the skill of discipline if you choose. But discipline isn't just about being hard on yourself. It's about designing systems that help remove decision fatigue and emotional negotiations. Really, it will help you with your consistency. If you have systems in place that can support your new identity, that support your new strategies, it is going to help you avoid decision fatigue because you have your decisions made. I know what I'm doing every day. I know what my strategies are. I know how I have to show up. All of a sudden, it becomes a skill to be disciplined because I know the path. Consistency comes from clarity, not pressure. People ask me this all the time. What's the difference between me and a client that you coach that is earning 7 figures or more? And they're shocked to hear it's nothing really all that magical other than the person is consistent. And they're consistent because they've embraced discipline as a skill, not as a definition of who they are. It's a skill that we can work on. The most disciplined people don't try harder, they decide less. Think about that for a minute. My business plan, my resolution, whatever it is, if I've got the path on how to get there outlined, and I've got the system in place that keeps me in a consistent place, discipline is easier because I know what to do. I'm not having to wake up every day and say, okay, that's my goal. How am I going to get there? What do I need to do? And we get overwhelmed and we just go back to doing what we've always done. Discipline is a skill that you can learn. When you have all the things in place, you don't have to make many decisions. I've said this before, and I want you to think about this. As kids, a lot of us had our parents, mom, dad, whoever, lay our clothes out for us for the next day. So when you woke up, you didn't have to make a decision about what you were going to wear. They typically made the decision for you what you were going to have for breakfast. They laid it out, they cooked it, they prepared it, whatever. All you really had to do then was brush your teeth, take a shower, whatever, and all your decisions were made for you. In fact, the decision to shower, brush your teeth were made for you because your parents made you do it. If we apply that same logic to business, and I show up in my office, in my workspace, wherever that might be, and my business decisions have already been made for me, I'm not going to experience decision fatigue. I'm not going to be a kid going to my closet going, oh, which one do I wear? I don't know what to do. Is it going to be warm? Is it going to be cold? Should I wear a sweater? Should I wear a shirt? Should I wear shorts, pants? Decisions have been made, and I stay out of decision fatigue. We can do the same thing with our business. Plan your next day the day before based upon the strategies you set in your business plan or your resolution, and you're not going to have to make really any decisions. You just need to show up and get to work. Number 5, you've got to replace habits, not resist them. Some of our conditioned habitual behaviors or habits are not healthy. I conditionally and habitually find myself on social media. I condition and habitually find myself texting friends throughout the day. I am conditionally, habitually watching news or the TV or a show during the day when I should be working. Those are habits that we want to address. We need to replace them, not resist them. You can't eliminate habits through suppression. All right. So it's like holding them down. It's like that beach ball underwater. It's eventually going to pop out. The brain needs a replacement behavior that satisfies the same emotional or psychological need. All right. This is really important. You need a replacement behavior, not just saying, I'm not going to do that anymore. Not doing it, not doing it, not doing it. That's a bad habit. I'm not doing it anymore. What am I going to do instead? So let's say health is on your radar screen. If I just went into it saying, I'm not going to allow myself to have the habit of eating sweets throughout the day, handful of M&Ms, Oreo cookie, whatever it is, candy bar. And I want to break that habit that I go and do that just because it's what I've always done. I want to have a behavior to replace it. I'm going to eat something healthy. I'm going to replace it with a protein bar. I'm going to replace it with a protein drink that might be sweet. I'm going to replace it with fruit. Whatever it is, we have a new behavior. We have a new habit that we're going to replace it with. Super important for you to take that into consideration. We've got to replace the habits. The first thing we have to do is acknowledge them. And then the second is to replace the habits that are not supporting your direction forward. Habits don't disappear, but we can redirect them. So my goal is to be healthy, and there's a bag of Oreos in the pantry. There's an apple in the fruit bowl. I'm going to replace the habit of going to the Oreo and replace it with and create a new habit of eating something healthy that fulfills my sweet tooth. Replace the habit. If you need a moment to just really reflect, take note every day of some of the habits that you're doing and ask yourself, what's the habit giving me? How can I get that result in a better way? So I've shared this with you all. Hot yoga has become my thing. I know if left to my own, I'm not going to go work out. Whenever in my life I have wanted to gain muscle or work on the composition of my body fat versus muscle, I've hired a trainer because I know that will create the habit for me. If I try to do it on my own, it's not going to work. So I have to look at how can I get the result in a better way. If I go on my own, am I going to do some stuff? Probably. Am I going to get the result I want? Maybe, maybe not. If I write a check to a trainer, I'm going to get better results from creating a habit of going to the gym than if I go to the gym on my own. It's just how I work. So I had to sit back and look at my habits and say, okay, you're going to the gym every day, but there is absolutely nothing going on with your body that would indicate you're going to the gym every day. You've created a habit of going to the gym every day. Great. How do I get better results from it? I had to hire a trainer. That's just how I work. But that's an example of what we need to do. In your business world, you may have a habit of having lead generation, sales time, whatever you call it on your schedule, and you're kind of doing it, but not really, and you're not getting the results, but you've created the habit of doing lead gen. Hire a coach. Hire a business advisor. It's what I did with my weight training. I hired a professional. I had the habit built. So if you've got the habit of lead generation, but you're not getting results, hire a coach that can help you get through it because we're looking to enhance that habit. That's a good one. Lead generation every day is a really good one, and we just might need to enhance it. Number 6, this is really, really important, and I don't think we pay enough attention to it. Environment is the silent driver of commitment. So your environment, right? Physical, relational, digital, whatever it is, either will reinforce your old identity or support your new one. People try to change internally while staying the same externally. If you belong to an office where people are very social and gravitate to you, and you allow that to happen, you're not going to change to get to your new goal. You've got to change some things up. You may have to set boundaries. You may have to physically get a different office. You may have to change your relationship with the people you work with. You may have to discipline yourself from digital media. I've taken social media off my phone. I lied. I have Instagram on there because that's the only way I can post. But I've taken most of my distractions off of my mobile device. Same thing with my iPad. And those are the things that I use 90% of the time throughout the day. So I had to change my relationship with my digital equipment because it had to change, or I was just going to do the exact same thing over and over again. Your environment has a big impact on if you're going to win or not. For me, an office that's in order helps me win. If I walk into a shared workspace and it's just a disaster, That is like having a marching band go through and distract me or create chaos in my world. So your environment is really important. Have you set yourself up for success? Your physical environment, your relationships during your work day, your digital exposure. Are you controlling those? If you don't, your old identity is going to show up. I can't be on TikTok an hour and a half a day and shrink my actual work time and think I'm going to get to a different goal. I'm not going to. I've got to take control of it. So it's really important. If your surroundings don't change, your future is at risk. And I've shared this before, but I truly do this. So you can see my journals behind me. I have a work desk and then I have a built-in desk. I do certain things at my work desk and I do certain things at my built-in desk. And in my mind, I know when I'm turned around in my chair and I'm there, I'm doing one of the following activities. But I had to create that. I was doing everything in the same place and nothing felt, like it was special or intentional. So I changed things up. The last episode, I talked about silence and stillness. I can't do that at my work desk. Doesn't work for me. So I have to change things up. So your environment really matters. Do an environment audit and see if it's supporting you on your path to your new goal. The last thing I'm going to say is sustainability beats intensity every single time. A lot of us overcommit in January and are burnt out in February. I think they say the average resolution lasts 28 days. And that is that burnout you might be feeling in February. So resolution, new goal, new identity, whatever it is, business, personal, whatever it is. We entered January on fire and we have just expected miracles to happen. Instead of calling 10 people a day, we're going to call 30. Instead of doing 2 events a week, we're doing 5. We just blow it up because we overestimate what we can do. Changing your behavior and what you do is no different. It's a muscle. So we may have to ease into things a little bit. It's like if I said today, so I used to be a runner. I know that might be hard to believe. I used to be a runner, would run at least 5 miles a day. I had a health situation that's just not on the table anymore for me to run. Yet if it were, it has been several years since I have run 5 miles. If you see me running today, I'm running away from a dangerous situation. However, if I said, hey, I want to run 5 miles. So January 1, I'm going out for a 5-mile run. Not going to happen. If it does, it's going to be ugly and it's going to be really so overwhelming and frustrating that I'm going to burn out. But if I said, okay, January, I'm going to set a goal. The first week, I'm going to run a quarter of a mile. Second week, a half a mile. Third week, 3/4 of a mile. Fourth week, a mile. February, 1.5 miles, 2 miles, 2.5 miles, 3. I build up to it. I'm setting myself up for success. That's sustainable, a gradual increase. Jumping in the deep end a lot of times creates the space for you to fail. So I really want you to step back and look at how you're going to attack and approach the new year, because I know all of us have a vision, goals, resolution, whatever you want to call it, set for ourselves. So you need to do a couple things. You need to be clear on what that vision is. You need to connect with the identity. Remember, you've got to be connected to that identity, or your brain's going to be like, you're not that person. That's a really cute idea, but you're not that person. You've never been that person. You got to do a mind hack and trick it. Embrace the fact that your brain likes comfort and familiarity, and it's going to want to seduce you to go back to that. Unless you've got systems in place, decisions made that help you tell your brain it's okay. Otherwise, it's going to pull you back to that 92% of what we do is conditioned habitual. Discipline's a skill. It must be learned. It must be exercised. It's not your personality. Anybody can be disciplined. You get to choose how that looks. Habits, find the ones that are no longer serving you and get rid of them. Find the ones that could serve you. Like, you had a great habit. I show up and I go to the gym every day. I'm not making progress. Hire a trainer. I show up and I do my sales work every day, but I'm not converting. Hire a coach. Create the habit and support the activities to make that habit productive. And if you have a bad habit, get it out. Do an audit of your environment. and realize that sustainability, a gradual build to things, sometimes is the best way to get there. Jumping in the deep end will make you exhausted, and in a short amount of time, you're going to get out of the pool. Same thing. Early February, we're done. We're going back to the way we used to do it because your brain is exhausted. You're exhausted, and you start to lose faith in the belief of the identity of who you want to be. I cannot express my gratitude enough for you, and I'm wishing you great success in the upcoming year. I'm going to be here with great things for us as we move into the new year, but I really do want you to maybe take a listen to this podcast twice and to get real, get right, what it's going to take for you to have a really great year and who you need to be to experience that year. Your brain's very powerful. We need to work with it. And a lot of what is needed to move into a new year with a new identity, new goal, new resolution is really dependent on what's going on in your brain versus just what you have down on paper. So if you're hearing this and it's New Year for you, happy New Year. I do believe 2026 is going to be a year of recovery for a lot of us. A lot of things are changing economically, financially, politically. Things are just changing. And I've been an entrepreneur for 24 years and I've felt several changes happen, several shifts in markets happen. And I feel, could be wrong, but I feel like we're on the cusp of a recovery. And that is my hope for every one of you. So happy New Year, and we will see you in a week. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.